guys, let's get to it. National Hurricane Center hasn't called landfall yet. They say very near landfall. I can see some of those heavier rain bands that are near Cross City and maybe up towards Keaton Beach. Got some decent rain around Mayo and High Springs. Chiefland may be in one of the spots where it's a little weaker between that first band and this one that's closer to the eye itself. Looks like right around Horseshoe Beach, maybe getting a little bit of a break in the eye right now, and that's where things will calm down for a little while as this continues to move now north and east, and that's really been the main direction for the past couple of hours, moving a little bit east of north. And as it wobbles just a smidge, I think they're going to call landfall very, very soon in southernmost parts of Taylor County or northernmost parts of Dixie County. So someplace real close to Steinhatchee is where it looks and feels like is going to be the official spot. But remember, we go east of there, and especially maybe about another 40 or 50 miles or more for the strongest winds and for the heaviest rains. And as that continues to lift to the north, those are going to be the areas. So near the I-75 corridor, and that's where we're going to find some of the biggest weather for the next couple of hours. This is all moving slow, 10 to 12 miles per hour. That's all. So it's going to take a good long while for this to continue exiting to the north. When it does eventually, I think it's going to bring a whole lot of rain to parts of southeastern Georgia and the Carolinas, and it's going to take its sweet old time to move on through parts of the south. We're going to be hearing about Debbie and eventually what's left of Debbie probably all week long for parts of the southeast and maybe even into the mid-Atlantic. We still have our current watches and warnings. We've got those hurricane warnings for a big chunk of the area, especially for Taylor County, for Madison County and east, where we're expecting those hurricane-like conditions. Storm surge, always a concern when you have something shaped like our coast and you have all that water coming this way. We did just pass all of the high tides earlier this morning, so the tides are trying to go back out. I've seen some reports of a couple of spots with some dry tides going on out there because of the water leaving. It'll come back later, but I think some of the bigger spots that would see the most potential surge, Taylor County, Dixie County, can be well up over 6 or 8 or even 10 feet. Now, we've seen a reduction in that tornado watch. The current one was till 6 a.m. Well, we're now past 6 a.m. It's about 6:08. So what we're going to find is areas farther to the east have the better threat for the rotating individual thunderstorm cells. I've been looking at the velocities throughout the morning, just trying to see some of those winds, and I do see elevated off the surface of the earth some winds up in that 70 or 80 mile per hour range at times, and I'm talking way upstairs. Then when that translates down, it gets much, much weaker. But I haven't seen anything that even resembles rotation, so that's great news. There was quite a bit of that over the peninsula yesterday. There was some along I-10 yesterday, but nothing in our area since, and it's nice when that threat gets smaller and smaller. I think for a lot of our area, it's just going to be a wet, wet, wet day and night. And that's why the flooding concern is going to be the bigger one. This is going to go until tomorrow, and it's probably going to extend longer than that, especially in some areas to the north where the flooding might even be more so as that storm brings so much rain to so many areas. Now, this flood watch does include Franklin County, Wakulla, Leon, and Grady counties and areas to the east, so we'll certainly be monitoring for all those rainfall totals as we go through the day. You can see how slowly, I mean, this is taking it more than 24 hours to get all the way across the area, so there's going to be a lot of rain to talk about with this before our winds shift a little bit, and with a little bit of luck, we pull in some drier and maybe even some less hot air for Wednesday and for Thursday. It would be nice if that starts on Tuesday, and maybe some of our northwestern spots will start that by Tuesday. So I do think there's going to be some improvements in the forecast, but we got to get through what's going to be a real wet day today too. The current winds out there, not crazy. We see a lot of them down below 20 miles per hour, and these are the 1-minute averages. Madison High School is checking in with a 30 mile per hour sustained wind, so that's windy for sure, but we've had windier. And we've had much gustier. We can see that in Perry, those wind gusts, those 2 or 3 second bursts, up to 45 miles per hour. At Lafayette High School, up to 42 miles per hour. So closer to where that core is, that's where we're going to find those strong winds. Remember, that core is only about 30 miles wide. So it's going to be a small area that gets those big winds. We'll hear about, but it's a hurricane and it's got 80 mile per hour winds, but that's in a very, very small spot, and a lot of that is elevated off the ground. As it translates down, it gets weaker. As you get away from the core, it gets much, much, much weaker. And it's going to be areas near that core and to the east. So back for Wakulla County and for Leon County and even up through Monticello and Thomasville. Yeah, we'll get some gusts, but I don't think it's going to be anything like they're going to find in places like Dixie and Taylor County and maybe up through Lafayette and Sewanee counties, where I know we don't need any more rain. We certainly don't. But that's where this is going, and this is going to be a big-time rain-making setup. I think it's going to be something that rains all day and maybe into the day tomorrow, especially as you get across I-10 and you start working your way up towards southeastern Georgia and eventually the Carolinas. For a lot of our area, there is a very clear and sharp back edge to the rain. Yeah, we've got some of those wraparound bands, and we're getting a good soaking in Monticello. We're getting a decent soaking in eastern parts of Thomas County. But if you start to get a little further back towards Grady County, western parts of Leon, Wakulla, it's barely raining at all. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of us for a while today. We'll see if some of those bands do extend a little bit further back, but the farther west you go, you get into Decatur County, you get up towards Donaldsonville or way up towards Blakely or Dothan, Alabama, might not see any rain at all. Same when you get west of Quincy, get over towards Chattahoochee, we might not see any rain whatsoever, just a little breeze at times. So that's the difference from being east or west. So much rain near I-75, not a whole lot for the Apalachicola Riverside. Now here's what it looks like for the past couple of hours. You can see that wobbly, elongated looking core. Never had the tightest presentation or the most concentric looking circle to it. So that was what was one of the things inhibiting this from getting much, much stronger. I do see some little spots where I can see some of the reds and oranges in there. So some of those really heavy downpours and certainly some frequent lightning with some of that. But right now, we're watching this move very slowly to the north and east, and that means our easternmost areas, Taylor County, Madison County, parts of Lowndes County, and east, that's where we're going to have the biggest rains. We've already had some big rains. Where we see the purple colors on this map, that's 4 inches or more's worth of rain. And that's for a huge chunk of the Suwannee River Valley. But we've got some areas in the yellows and oranges and reds, and that's 8 and 10 inches worth of rain, and we are not done by a long shot. And I think we're going to see more of that spread north. So we're going to find a big part of the area over towards the I-75 corridor where we get some pretty big rains. And the flip side of that is you get a little bit more towards the middle of our viewing area, the Leon, Wakulla, Grady, Thomas County area. Maybe we pick up a couple inches, maybe when all is said and done. Get west of that, and we're probably not going to see very much rain at all. You even see the back edge of the cloud cover. So it's so heavily lopsided towards eastern parts of North Florida and southeastern Georgia, and much less farther back to the west. And it does look like that's going to be the way things play out. Here's what it looks like from top to bottom. And you can see that, yeah, there are some showers and some clouds that extend all the way up to the Carolinas already. If you look down to the south, there are still some that extend all the way down towards South Florida. So this is going to be one of those that takes a while to lift all the way through because there's so much of it. But it eventually will continue to lift off to the north and to the east. I suspect they're going to call landfall sometime real soon, someplace close to that Taylor and Dixie County coastline. That radar picture on the tropical version is going to show that so much of that rain, guys, has been off to the east. Now, we've got people stationed all over the place that'll be able to, especially in the next half hour when the sun starts coming up, to be able to show us a little bit better what's going on where you are. And I certainly think that the Taylor County and the Dixie County coasts with that storm surge is going to be something to see. And I also expect areas from Taylor County through Madison County and a little bit more towards the I-75 area. That's where we're going to find some of those really big rainfall totals to go with some of that wind-driven rain too. And then we're going to look outside, even in Tallahassee, and find just some showers here and just some wind here, but nothing like they're seeing in other parts of the Big Bend, especially in our easternmost areas. I'm going to go back and check the computers, look for some new information. We've got lots more for you this morning. Let's send it back to the news desk.